Hello and welcome to my little autobiography video about me, so you can get to know me a little bit. My style of teaching has always been that I ask individuals to share information about themselves, and the best way for me to encourage you to do that is to share my own information, telling you a little bit about myself, where I'm coming from in terms of teaching this class. And I will assure you that as you make your way through the course material, if I've done the personality test or I've taken the um, the type of assessment that I ask for in my adulthood class, that I will share my own results as well. And so by way of introduction, I have created a little slideshow that I'll go through about the most important things in my life. And let's take a look at that. So I'm Mark Kavanaugh, PhD in educational psychology, and I'm your instructor for this semester. Let's start off with my work history. Up until very recently, this semester actually, I was working at Kennebec Valley Community College. I worked there for a total of 28 years, enjoyed just about every second of that, and I'm in sort of a semi retirement. And leaving KV, however, doesn't mean that I've left teaching. I am currently, right now, of course, teaching for UMA, and I'm also teaching for the University of Maine in Presque Isle. Those are my current work areas. Now, in terms of education, I started off getting my bachelor's degree at St. Thomas University in Fredericton, New Brunswick. I'm a Canadian citizen, and I was able to go to school in Canada and majored in psychology. My next school was actually UMA. I was a UMA student in their music program, completed most of the program, but I did not complete it. But a very, very fun experience that enhanced my music career. Then moving into the world of social services, I went out and got my first master's degree in counseling and psychiatric rehabilitation. And that was the field that I worked in for several years. I worked as a social worker type, working in the mental health field, managed various programs for a company called Motivational Services, which is still around, still there. Worked for Health Reach, worked for, used to be KVRHA back then, Kennebec Valley Health Association, or something like that. And worked in that field, ended up working in independent living, which is cross disability, working with individuals with mobility, sensory, intellectual disabilities, all of those different ones. Very, very cool until I started teaching adjunct work at Kennebec Valley Technical College back then, and got the bug for that. And that was in 1997. And in 1999, I was hired full time at KVCC until 2025, where I resigned and am looking at different adventures at this point in my life. So the next school was Boise State University. I got another master's degree in instructional and performance technology. And to this date, today, really probably the most useful degree that I've got, about teaching and understanding developmental processes and learning and training and how to design online teaching. I hope it's apparent that I know what I'm doing when I teach online, because I kind of went to school for it. I hope you enjoy how I approach my classes, how I design my course books. A lot of that came from the information I gained through that degree. Very, very fun experience. Finally, as I've always wanted to do, I completed my doctorate at Walden University. This was a online school, and very intense. I recommend it. It's very happy that I was able to accomplish that level of education. It's always been on my radar, and I got that in 2014. So back to the slideshow. Let's look at the next area here. I live in wonderful town of Skowhegan. I moved here 10 years ago with my wife, and she's from Skowhegan. You might notice as Scow Vegas, it has a quite a cool personality up here. I encourage you to visit and come and understand what how the whole Skowhegan thing is about. I've grown to love it here. I am Canadian. The Canadian citizenship. I was born in Montreal, lived there till I was 4, moved to Maine with my parents, lived most of my life in Maine, and I'm also an American citizen. So I enjoy the ability to go to Canada, visit. I have relatives there, and it's all great. And so that's a really important part of my identity. Now, when I moved to Maine, I moved to a small town way up in northern Maine. Here's an aerial view of the entire town. And this town is St. Agatha, Senegat, for those of us who are French. Now, this small town is right on Long Lake. You can see where Long Lake is there. It's basically a single road going up through there. There's only a couple roads that branch off of there in an absolutely beautiful area of Maine. My house that I grew up in is right here. We're right on the lake, and you might the house is there, but you also might see. I'm going to move this a little bit here. There's a little cabin that's there, and that little cabin was where I cut my first musical teeth. I had a little studio down there while I was in high school, and played around with some bands and whatnot, and that's where we met. Now, there was an interval in my life when my mom got divorced and got remarried to a guy who was in the Air Force, and he got transferred to the wonderful tropical paradise of Guam. So this is an aerial view of the entire island. The island is 30 miles long, approximately, and at its widest point, it's 8 miles. And we lived here for a year and a half before that relationship crumbled. But this was a formative part of my life, is when I was in junior high. And so I left the school that I was going at in Senegat and then moved to Guam and then was there for a year and a half. And I came back. All the schools had combined into the high school, and there were all these new people, that all these different cliques and different connections and whatnot. I find it to be a very unique part of my life that I had to deal with that. But had this adventure as a child living in Guam. It was just amazing. I, of course, missed home and had lots of bad days not wanting to be there. It's very different. But in the end, being able to be in an incredibly multiracial place, a white minority, a schools that celebrated other cultures very frequently, the Chamorro population, but also the Black community and the Asian community, sort of like the equivalent of Hawaii for Japan, China, Korea, and all that. So there's a lot of Japanese, Chinese, and Korean people there as well. So it's just very, very intense thing for a seventh grader to deal with, and but transformative, just very, very cool experience. So we moved from Guam to, yeah, where America's Day begins. Because of the international date line, this is actually the first. Today's this is the place, land in America, where it was first September 1st today, and it was way back a while ago. So fun little trivia there. Now, there's lots of things that I find interesting and hobbies. These are all things: frisbee golf, meditation, swimming. Like to take care of my lawn, like hiking. Lots of outdoor stuff. I'm pretty athletic. Apple technology, exercising, walking, photography, tennis, reading, going to movies, reading comics, science fiction, and even scuba diving. Learned how to do that when I was in Guam. So those are my extracurricular activities. But far and above, there's one extracurricular activity that beats them all, and that is music. I had mentioned that early in my life I had that little studio down there, and I caught the bug for playing music and started playing in bands and whatnot, and went off to college and sort of set it aside. But then you saw that once I was done with my bachelor's degree in psych, I went to music school at UMA. That's what I'm not sure if I mentioned that when I talked about UMA. I was majoring in music, established connections with friends and whatnot that with in playing music, and that's become a very important part of my life and career. So, in terms of music, my primary instrument is the bass guitar, the electric bass. I also play guitar and I also play drums. I play in the worship team at my church on occasion, not very often, but I do that. I have my own recording studio that I goof around with, and I play in a band called Yellow Brick Road. This band is has been together for 20 years. And click on here. Here's our website. And so just tributeeltonjohn.com, if I can do that. Here's the band, different band members here. Here's Gerald Brand, one of my friends, a good friend. He's the founding member. Mike Tobias, Rich Daigle. There I am, right there. And Kavanaugh on bass, on drums, I mean. And we travel all over the world. Let's see, I look at the calendar right now. Uh, we just got done in Brownville, and in just a few days, we're going to be in Gulfport, Mississippi. Then we're in Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Florida, Georgia, Pennsylvania again. And every once in a while, we'll play in Maine. Not very often, but nonetheless, that's my music career. So that's I will often be interacting with you while I'm on the road. I bring my laptop and I grade things and do all that sort of the culture of the band. I'm sitting in the back of the van typing away while we're traveling to places. We fly to Mississippi, by the way, so that be doing that in the airplane for that. So, so that's a little bit about me. So you have a little bit about my energy, where I'm coming from, the different backgrounds and experiences that I have, and I'll be getting to know you a little bit. Please ask any questions, particularly in discussion boards, and like, hey, Mark, and call me Mark, by the way. That's perfectly fine. Say, hey, Mark, what are your thoughts on this, or how did you test on this test, or what are your experiences related to that? You're more than welcome to do that. However, I'm really emphasizing that you do that with each other and learn from each other. There's however many people are in this class, and that's how many teachers there are in this class. All of us is a teacher. I might be the lead teacher, but you all teach each other from the wonderful and diverse experiences that you bring to this class. So that's a little bit about me. Looking forward to get to know you over the next semester. Take care, and I will see you soon.